Hi everyone. I am one of the front-end engineers here at Yelp. Yelp is, it's a fun website and it's a pretty awesome website. But what's it like? What are the people behind the scenes like? These are all the different engineering teams. So consumer, which I am on, is we manage like the main site itself. So what we commonly know as Yelp.com. That is the team, consumer team is working on, and that's what I am on. And we also manage the mobile site, which is m.yelp.com, which we recently launched. There's also other teams like the mobile team, which manages our iPhone and our Android apps. The international team, which Stephanie is head of. Search team manages our search results and our search data. We use our own Python framework. We just kind of rolled it out in-house, so no Django, sorry. And Cheetah is our HTML templating system. Of course, we have Git as our version control, so don't accidentally delete the site. We used to use SVN. We converted the main site to HTML5 just last year, and we officially dropped support for IE6. I've been here for 2.5 years. I started out as the only front-end person at Yelp. 85% of my day goes to either developing new features, which I'm working on right now, fixing up the old features, or fixing bugs. So that's pretty much 85% of my day. 7% goes to just researching any new developments in the web design and development, whether it is CSS, or HTML, or JavaScript. Usually CSS, because that's my main area of expertise. 4% goes to helping out those who don't really know their CSS very well. 2% goes with socializing after hours. We have movie nights here every month on a Monday. Board game nights every week. And also watching StarCraft, which I used to play quite a bit. 0.5% looking at cat photos, because everyone does that. 0.5% just taking a nap in a hammock. We do push code live every day, believe it or not. I actually find it very surprising some companies don't push code out every day. I know some companies only push code every year, and that amazes me. It's like once a year? How do you get anything done once a year? I don't get it. But something, how does a project get released at Yelp? So it goes into something like, a PM makes a sweet little design, and we send it out for review and feedback. So Stephanie might send me a design that she made. She might have, talked about design before she actually started designing, about, she's planning on, doing a certain project, but usually I don't really see, I don't usually get that involved until she actually has some kind of preliminary design. And then my team and I would, the PM and I would talk about it, give each other iterative feedback over and over again. I also did a little bit of web design before I came to Yelp, so I also have a little say in the design process, and sometimes I play around with redesigning the site a little bit in my own free time, though I never actually submit anything. And then we kick off the project with a designated team. I'm currently in a new project that I can't talk about publicly, but it involves me, an engineer who is an expert with our server and our databases, and a JavaScript guru, a PM, not Stephanie in this case, unfortunately, and my manager. And every day we have stand-ups in the morning, and we have iteration planning where we plan out sprints. So we plan out, okay, for the next 2 weeks, we're going to get these certain tasks done. And we do have our own little whiteboard, too. The international team has their whiteboard. My team has their own whiteboard, which I didn't bring up. But we have our little whiteboard with little Post-its that say what we're going to do. And we say, for this next 2 weeks, we're going to do all this stuff. And then at the end of those 2 weeks, we just go back, revisit, see what's done, what was not, and then plan the next iteration, and so on and so forth. We initially pushed some skeleton code out, and then we released incrementally. It used to be in the past that we worked something and had this big, giant massive like code change for other people to review. And every time someone saw that, they're like, oh God, it's like 30 pages of code diffs. I'm not going to look at this. No, I don't want to look at it. But with this project I'm working on, we actually released the skeleton code out, and then we released like little modules to the code out in like little code reviews, tiny little code reviews. So they're much easier to read, much more manageable, and much easier to find to catch bugs. There's some very interesting challenges that I face here at Yelp. As you probably know, we're almost 8 years old, so there is some 8-year-old code in the code base that I had to deal with. So one of the things that I try to fix up on the side is the CSS. Like I mentioned, CSS is my main area of expertise. It's not the only thing I deal with, but it's pretty much the language I really love the most to work on. So I tried applying some principles from, I forgot what her name is, from the concept of object-oriented CSS, and the basic concept, like a little basic concept, like having a media object, having like reusable little snippets of CSS that you can use over and over again, so you don't have to keep repeating your code. This was really hard to do in our code because we just have we have such messy code that's not like at all like separate out. Like everything, sometimes it would be like overzealous code that covers everything on the site. You have to like, okay, you have to make an exception here, you have to make an exception there. It's a pain in the butt. So that's nice. That's a nice little challenge. It's a challenge I face every day. Sometimes it's fun and sometimes it's not. But surprisingly enough, I actually kind of enjoy it. Another challenge I dealt with was dealing with the front end for international. I was on the international team for a good few months when we started going international. Back then, the international team was part of consumer, and so I just kind of got suckered into doing international. Well, not really suckered, but I just kind of got. I know, but she wasn't there when I joined the team, so it's not her fault. But no, my manager said, we're going international. So the consumer team is kind of also the international team. So I had to deal with fixing our site to make it international friendly. We had various places where English. Some certain English words will fit, but you go into German and it suddenly doesn't fit anymore because German, the average word length for German is way longer than in English. So we had some interesting challenges there. I had to fix those up. Defending the front end's way of life from the back enders. I don't know if you know this, but in my personal opinion, CSS is not a real programming language, and I know there's that was started a debate. But sometimes I talk to a lot of people who are true Python engineers, and I do a little bit of Python too, but I'm not like that proficient in Python. And I get in quite a bit of arguments about how to test our code and how to write logic, how to write our logic in our code, and I'm just like, I don't know. I'm just a front-end person. I make things pretty. You guys have fun. I personally think front-end people kind of have much, kind of a more relaxed way of life than the back-end people. I mean, I rarely had to spend all-nighters here like some of my fellow engineers, but that's just me. So we are different from back-end people, and I'm proud of that. One of the big majors and one major project I worked on is Concierge. Concierge was intended to be the solution where you just say, okay, I want Thai, I want cheap, I want it cheap, and I want here in San Francisco. Just give me something. And we'll give you just one business. Last year, we ran an April Fool's joke where you could buy... So that's one of the fun projects I did here at Yelp. Is sometimes we don't always just work on site. Sometimes we have fun like this April Fool's joke. I did various experiments. Did a lot of A/B testing. Open table integration. So in some of the business pages you find on our site, you can book reservations through Open Table directly on our site. And so I helped work on putting that feature in. And I believe that is it. Any questions for me?